What is up, locker heads? I decided to do another storage locker stories. This one's going to be about gambling and the gamble of buying storage lockers and the difference between like buying a room that, you know, has a lot of indicators and looks good from the outside and, you know, there's stuff in there. And then there's rooms where you just take a straight gamble. Like, you don't really know what's in anything. You're just taking a gamble, a gut feeling. And I'm going to tell you a few different stories about lockers we've bought. Some of them even on this channel, where we went with our guts and it either paid off or it didn't pay off whatsoever. And let's start with one of the ones that was on this channel. It was actually Alyssa's gut feeling, and Alyssa had a really good feeling about this room. And for some people, it might have been a good room. For us, with the limited space we have, it ended up being a really bad room. It was the room where we bought, there was just boxes. There was all boxes. You could not see anything. There was no indicators. There was no, like, sneaker box. There was no clothing. It was just straight, plain boxes with no writing on them whatsoever. And it turned out to be all books. And it was a gamble we took. And, you know, didn't pay off. And we ended up getting stuck with a bunch of books. We sold a few of them. We tried to donate as many as we could, but a lot of them weren't in that great a condition. So a lot of places wouldn't take them. So we ended up having to just give them away, like on Craigslist and stuff like that. But they took up way too much room for us. Like, they weren't worth the space they were taking up, like at the rate we were selling them. And for a small, you know, like a small operation like us, that's not really worth it. I know there's some people, if you have a big warehouse, they are worth sitting on and selling, but just not for us. But like I was talking about the gamble of it, there was literally nothing you could see in the room, and it ended up costing us, I think we made back $100 on the room, $200 on the room. For like, I think the room was like $500, something like that, $450, $500, somewhere in there. But that wasn't too bad of a gamble, because there was only a few boxes. There's like 5 or 6 boxes. Everything was heavy, you know. But that was like more of a small gamble. Now let me tell you about a big gamble we made. We've talked about this room in many videos, and the only thing I saw in a 10 by 30 room was garbage bags, garbage bags, garbage bags. But I was tall enough to see in the back, and I saw a gas-powered helicopter, and that's one indicator, but for a 10 by 30, you usually want to see more than one good thing. And what do you call it? So we were taking a gamble that because the person had enough money to buy a gas-powered helicopter, because gas-powered helicopters is an expensive hobby. And this wasn't like a little one. This was like from, let's just say, from here to like all the way, I would say like a 3-foot, 4-foot, in between that size, gas-powered helicopter. So that was the only indicator I had in a 10 by 30 that was filled with garbage bags. So for all we could have known, it was somebody that either like was a scrapper or did clean outs and was just abandoning the room. So, you know, something like that. But I had a gut feeling, and you know, a lot of you know the story already. I just go quick through. We ended up paying $50 for the room because everyone was scared that all the garbage bags were full of garbage. We were lucky; they ended up being full of all different types of like electronics, gold, pens. Yes, pens, Visconti pens, and Montblanc pens. There was a ton of jewelry, gold jewelry. It was like a $50 room that ended up, you know, it wasn't just $50, but it was a $50 room that we paid $50 for up front. That ended up turning into like a $15,000 to $20,000 room. Plus, we found Alyssa's engagement ring in there. Like I've said in videos, I told her if she wanted to sell the ring and buy one, like a new one, but she loves the fact it was an antique, because it was an antique from like the 1940s, and she loved it. And it was exactly what we were actually looking at before that, because we were starting to look, and it looked almost exactly like the one she was picking out or whatever. So we ended up just keeping that one and getting it resized and everything, which wasn't cheap. Was not cheap. It's like $500 to get it resized because it was platinum, and it was 5 or 6 sizes too small. Plus the diamond had to be moved because of it, so it was just expensive. Um, Another gamble that ended up turning out good was the room that we paid $60 for in Brooklyn. The only indicator we had, and this was just a complete shot in the dark, and a $60 gamble really is nothing for a small room, because if it's all garbage, you could throw it out quick. That's why I do encourage you guys, if you are going to buy storage lockers, the best gambles are smaller lockers that are cheap, because if they're garbage, you can just throw them out, and it's a small investment. Because I'm going to go into another locker in a little while that was not a very good investment, or even a gamble. It was just a stupid move on my part. But the episode 13 was all those Jordans. It was like 40 pairs of Jordans that we paid $60 for, but it was a complete gamble. Like, it could have all been garbage. It was just garbage bags. We saw that the garbage bag boxes were square, but we've bought so many rooms where we go in and it's like either the boxes are empty or the boxes are something else, and that was just a gamble. But like, I was able to just see like a small piece of red in one of the corners of one of the boxes, and that's the color of like some Nike boxes. But that is like just a complete gut feeling. Like, you have to just feel like, all right, I'm gonna take this chance on this stupid room for $60. So that's an example of a good gamble. But like, there was no like, okay, like in episode 14, it was not really too much of a gamble because I paid $410 for the room, and from the experience I had in buying storage lockers before, and knowing how, like, what change looks like, I could tell in that jug, if there was pennies, I would have been a little screwed. But I know most people, when they save change, they save all their change from the day. And in this one in particular, we could kind of see quarters and stuff, and we could see that there were, like, bills and stuff in there. So it really wasn't too much of a gamble, because we knew there was at least $300 or $400 worth of change there, and it ended up being $550, which is better for us. But like, that's less of a gamble, and then I knew anything else in the room would be a profit, so that's not too big of a gamble. But when you like just buy a room that has garbage bags, you literally can't see anything, that's a gamble. And it's something you have to do as a storage locker buyer, because if you're just always going to buy premium rooms, there's going to be times when you buy rooms that have good indicators, but then, like, say you open some of the boxes and stuff, and then there's nothing in there, and you end up either breaking even or losing money, which you need to make money when you're doing this. You can't just constantly be breaking even. You're going to lose money in the long run because, you know, operating costs and everything. So as a storage locker buyer, your most important things are the gambles. And you gotta, like, you gotta trust your gut. And yes, I know there's other videos and stuff where they talk about, people talk about it and they say, like, oh, well, you really should go by what you see, blah, blah, blah. And to an extent, I agree with that. It does help, especially with, like, staying consistent. But if you were going to want that big score, if you're going to want that big thing, you have to take the gamble rooms from time to, not all the time, but from time to time you need them, because they really are what could, you know, elevate you to the next level. But you can also have situations like where we were at. It was right after episode 14. This was still when we weren't videotaping, videotaping. We weren't yet video recording all of our lockers, or trying to do all of our lockers. We still don't do all of them, but we try and do as many as we can. But back then, we were only doing like 1 or 2 a month, because it was just, I don't know. It just was different back then. But, we had just done really well in episode 14, plus, what do you call it? We had some other things going good for us. We sold some other stuff that we invested in. And, so we had a nice chunk of change, and we saw this room in, where was it? Pleasantview? Something like that. Wherever it was somewhere deep in Long Island. And there was like 50 boxes of Jordans. There was all these slot car like boxes, like with the whole track plus the slot cars and everything. Plus there was musical instrument cases. And you could actually see one of the trumpets. So I had a really good feeling about it, and like an idiot went way past what I really should have been buying on one locker. Especially at that time. We spent like $4,000 on it, and when we got there, it was like obvious the room was staged by the facility or somebody, because like a person who's put in there, like, doing the room wouldn't do this. Like, there were literally every or that was gone through, because every single slot car box was missing the slot cars, which is the most only valuable thing. Like, their tracks and stuff for a dime a dozen, but the actual cars inside were all missing. But the tracks were in there. There was like, we got it back in the back. There was Tiffany boxes, all these boxes. You could tell they were going through. They were like ripped open. Every single Jordan box didn't have the Jordans inside. There was this like set of rings, like just stacks and stacks and stacks of rings, and there was like little, like, what do you call it, tags on the side, and any one that's in sterling or 14 karat or 18 karat were all missing. But then all the crappy rings were there. There was like one or two gold rings left that they must have just left behind. There was Nintendo, PS4, PlayStation, the PS4. Yeah, PS4. What's the other one? Xbox One. All the boxes were there. Nothing was in it. All that was left was like garbage. There was like $500 worth of stuff left on a room we paid $4,000 for, and it was my fault though. I took the gamble on a facility I've never been to, so I didn't know if I could trust them or not. And you know, that was like one of the biggest lessons I learned. And that was one of the biggest hits we've ever taken, because we spent $4,000, which at the time was a lot of money for us. Like, a lot. Like, it still is a lot of money, but at that point in our thing, we were still growing a lot. Like, we were doing a lot of growing on everything. We didn't have, like, I don't know. It was different back then. And it really it was a bad gamble to lose. But I learned from that, and I put in like one of my things. I've told you guys some of the hints I've said, like, don't trust the facility until you've been there a few times and you really know what goes on there. I would, like, normally when I do that, like, it's hard to explain, but I was able to tell that somebody went through everything. Like, even the TV, there was a 60-inch TV in there, and that would have been worth 65-inch, something like that. And it would have even been worth money, but it was cracked. Like, it's almost like the facility took stuff from, like, cleaning out other lockers and put it in there, and, like, was making it so that they would be bid up or whatever. And I got caught in it. I felt like an asshole. I almost felt them laughing at me as I was doing it too. So it was a good lesson, though. A very good lesson I learned. I mean, if everything would have been in the boxes, I would have looked like a genius, because it would have been like $12,000 worth of stuff. But sadly, there was like $500 worth of stuff left, and it was all like, you know, flea market stuff, like crap. So, and then another gamble room, I don't know if I've ever talked about this room on this channel, but I might have, was a room that I saw. It was when me and Alyssa first started, and it was the first, like, real, like, fast room. I call it fast room. I don't really know how to say it, but our first quick hit. There you go. All we saw in the room was, like, this specialty wire, like a roll of it, though. So we figured they had to be installing something, because you could see the specialty wiring, like some tools. But we're like, if it's, you know, it could be a cable worker, this or that. But we decided to go for it. I think we paid like $100 or $200 for the room, somewhere in there. And we get in there, we open the boxes, and it's this company called Alcatel-Lucent. And apparently they were like these professional routers. And we were like, what is this? So we look them up. We couldn't even find prices for them. Like, it was, wow. And we finally were able to, like, call the company, get quotes for them. And they were, like, really expensive. New. Like, new, they were, like, $900 to $1,000 a piece. And there was, like, 4 of them. And we ended up selling, this was when we just had started. So we still had eBay seller, like, restrictions. So we sold 2 of them, and we hit our monthly limit of like $1,200. So we held on to the other 2. You know, we were still doing flea markets and yard sales. So, you know, $1,200 at that time, especially we had just started out and everything. It was tough to do, but it was actually really, it was humbling almost, because I remember I was making like the job I quit. I was making like, I mean, I worked for shit, but I was making like about $2,000 a month. So it was like really humbling to be limited to making 1,200. But I ended up selling some stuff too on my mom's eBay account at the time. I asked her if I could sell some stuff because we had a lot of other stuff. But our seller limits got pushed up really quick because we, we showed how, good we could do and whatever. And eBay was, every month they were pushing our seller limits up. But I remember though at that time where we sold 2 of them, we hit our max, and it was like, whoa. And then we ended up selling the other 2. I think we sold them $600 a piece, something like that. Because 3 of them were brand new, 1 of them was used, but we still were able to get like 5 or 6 for the used one. I can't remember. We listed them all for the same price though. And there was a bunch of other stuff in the room, but we ended up turning like $100 into like 2,000 within like, I think it took like 2 weeks because it was like the middle of the month, I believe. Because it was at Stop and Store. Now Stop and Store is usually in the middle of the month. So that was like one of the first gambles we ever took. Because the other rooms we bought weren't really gambles. Because like the what do you call it? The first 2 lockers we ever bought. This was like the 5th or 6th locker we ever bought. But the first 2 we ever bought, the first one we were able to see a bunch of like antique furniture. So we knew that it was going to be something decent. And then the second room we technically bought was like a $200 room. But we could see all types of like weird, like, I think it was Egyptian style art. It ended up being like reproductions, but it all sold like really well. We had like a bunch of papyrus paper that we sold on eBay for like $75 a piece. There was a ton of sterling silver, jewelry, and gold. But yeah, that was an amazing start to our career. But those weren't gambles, and the other rooms I bought leading up to this room wasn't really gambles. I'm a gambler at heart. I played the horses. I love poker. But like that was our first real gamble room, and it ended up paying off. But then I remember, this is gonna be the last one because it's getting long. This video is getting a little long. But the last one was a funny gamble. It was actually in the facility that we bought our first 2 lockers. I don't even think I've ever talked about this on this channel. But I was able to see these like little statues of knights in this box. So I figured, okay, there was some type of collector. But you couldn't see anything else. All you could see was like the heads of these little knight statues. And then every other box was closed up and didn't say anything on it. And all you could see was cat boxes and stuff. So we ended up taking a gamble, paid like $300 for the room. All that there was the 1 box of the knights and an entire VHS collection of porn in like 90 different boxes. And then he had a few boxes of regular videos that were actually porn. My friend Trevor actually took some of the VHSs because he likes VHSs, and he's like, "These are all porn, buddy. These are all porn." He's like, "This is not Lion King." But that was one of the first gambles that really went wrong for us because we spent like $300 when we were first starting. $300 was a lot of money for us, and we made like maybe $100 back. And that was a big lesson for us too, though, is like not to get too excited just because there's like 1 box of good stuff. So thank you guys for watching. Like, share, comment. If you're a locker buyer like me, give me some of your best and worst gambles in the comments below. Bye, everybody.